Okay, so today is Java 2, Lesson 7. And what we're learning about today is casting. So, casting, the definition is that casting is when you convert something of one type into another type. So, originally, when you're creating a variable, for example, if you set a variable as an integer, for example, then it's always going to stay as an integer and you can't change it at all. But in this case, you can change stuff into another type. So, for example, the integer I can change into double now. So today, mainly we're just going to focus on primitive data type casting, which just means that casting ints, doubles, that kind of stuff. But we'll talk about another type of casting in another course. To be specific, next course, if you're there for it, that is. The only types that can really be casted to each other at this point is integers and doubles, but it's important to note that you could cast an integer or double to a float, but there's very little use to that since if you remember, floats are not commonly used and they're also very imprecise. So usually you wouldn't see people doing that. You would usually see integer to doubles or doubles to integers. Okay. And if you cast something to its own type, it doesn't cause an error. So what I mean by that is you can cast from a string to a string, a boolean to a boolean, that kind of stuff. Also, just make sure to put the type you want to cast to in front of the value you're casting. And I have an example of casting in a second, so you'll see what I mean by casting and how to do it. Casting examples. Okay. So first one over here on the left side, you see here that I create an integer I equals something, the int name inside parentheses, and then 5.7. So notice here that 5.7 is a double, and originally, if we didn't have this parentheses over here, then it would just be it wouldn't be allowed since 5.7 isn't an integer. But in this case, it's allowed because we're casting now. So what casting is, it's mainly just this this thing inside parentheses. And if you printed this variable out, it would output 5. So when doubles are converted to integers, the decimal part of the double is cut off. So it's not rounded up, it's just cut off. So that's why it's 5 instead of 6, because it's basically just cutting this 0.7 off and like throwing it away and then just leaving this 5 behind. So this is allowed since there is a way to convert an int to a double or vice versa. If an int was converted to a double, it would just add a decimal point and a 0 after it. And next one over here, int I equals int true. So this is not allowed. This is an example of what is not allowed in Java. And it's because you can't convert a Boolean to an integer. There's just no way to do such a thing since it's just not possible. So this is one example of what you can't do, but there's also other types such as casting an integer to a string. That also doesn't work. If you wanted to do that, you wouldn't really cast. You would just add empty quotes to it, and that's how you would turn it into a string, but you wouldn't cast to a string. All right then. So again, it's a short lesson, but it's important background information, especially if you're going to go on to Java 3, and it's important information. Java 2 isn't really too full of knowledge. Sure, it's like a little bit complicated, but yeah, it's just like, again, just like preparing for harder stuff.
Could you put the slides on the links page?
Yeah, give me a second. But yeah, otherwise, I'm gonna put this class problems up very soon.
Is it possible?
Okay, so these are the class problems. Again, like always, 4 of these top problems are the regular problems. So do these first, and these are the challenge problems. So if you feel good about what you did here, then you can do the challenge problems to practice. Otherwise, since it's a short lesson, the problems will be a little bit easier to do, but still try to do these problems so that you're getting enough practice on it. Since we'll be using it later as well. So otherwise, yeah. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can put them in the comments below. Otherwise, that'd be it for today's lesson 9.